This is the 8th opportunity that we have found on this channel, Low K and Habits, and in the previous video we discussed a topic that was about research that is done around built environments. And on that occasion I spoke a little about a particular investigation that dealt with the emergence of new financing systems for the construction and development of housing and construction projects in general. On this occasion we are also going to link with the current news, and one of them are the launches of advances in artificial intelligence models, and in this case there is an important novelty that has to do with the launch of GPT-4o Chat. Let's take a look. The novelty for this opportunity is that OpenAI basically once again breaks the market for artificial intelligence models with this new incursion, with the so-called Chat GPT-4o Omni, which basically takes the previous model, the 4, but makes it faster and cheaper in terms of GPU consumption. In addition, it has new functionalities and is the integration of image and sound production, in addition to the usual thing that is the whole matter of exchange through text. And it is worth reviewing because this topic has been discussed around the world. In particular, what we are going to see in a moment has to do with the way in which tutoring can be done in the academic environment, the novelty for this opportunity. On this occasion, it would be worth taking a look at the official OpenAI website and see what this model shows us. And to begin with, well, it surprises and raises very interesting discussions from an ethical point of view for learning and the offer of educational programs. It's simply seeing, for example, how marketing is done, let's say, for this type of. For example, 4 things arise here to write an academic essay. There is something new, and it is the connection with a tool as popular, especially in Latin America, as WhatsApp. Right. For fun, for example, an academic essay and suggest 10 names for a new business. What does that mean? This is basically what artificial intelligence proposes and how it permeates various aspects, for example, from the point of view that the model is recycled. And as I already mentioned, it becomes faster and more economical to use. At this moment, you could even use a free version, a little limited, but it can be useful for people who want to simply. As I already said, it is a bit of a use of the previous model, but with the integration in a single place, so to speak, of the tools that have to do with audio and image production, and all the image recognition of what may be happening on our computers. Let's give you, for example, a look at what a first approximation of ChatGPT integrated into WhatsApp could be like. In the United States, for weeks now, there has already been an inclusion, for example, of the Go model that is Llama. And surely people in the United States are already using it, but GPT chat used in WhatsApp would be an upcoming and very interesting novelty. Imagine everything that could be done with this connection. Or the advanced tools, which is simply loading PDFs, images of all kinds to make summaries, write reports, that is, everything that would allow the use of these great language models. However, the discussion about intellectual property and correct use persist, and that will be, let's say, the basis of a heated discussion around the use of this, especially in academic environments. Very well, here one could enter and see all the advantages they can have. One could even connect here with the Gmail account, with the Apple account, or with any email to start using. Friends, the battle to capture, shall we say, market share is fierce, to say the least, right now. And just as it happened about 20 years ago in terms of the competition over dominance in terms of search engines and the filtering that was achieved there, now you are also living in this new environment. So I leave these concerns for you to explore for yourself. The people who have already joined this channel and have watched the 7 videos so far around 2,000 times. They are in general a community around students, teachers, and researchers who may be interested in taking a look at the forms and changes in education systems, especially in everything that has to do with the built environment. Let's take a look at these aspects, for example, the change in education methods, the concerns that universities and educational institutions in general have about the incursion and the opportunities and threats that we can find in artificial intelligence and in addition to the globalization of education. Nowadays, we are no longer limited to studying where we live. We can imagine moving to other cities with relative ease and being able to seek to develop in other contexts that are strange or not for us. Let's take a look, for example, at those aspects. In the process of choosing what to study after having completed an undergraduate program in civil engineering, in architecture, in administration, in any matter related to what you live in, the key variable may be the cost to do this. It would be interesting to take a look at those aspects that affect people's pockets and are, let's say, a crucial issue. Here we are simply going to review some interesting graduate programs on different topics that have to do with the built environment. And, for example, this one offered by an institution like UCL, let's say it is a program in management and construction economics. It is very frequented by alumni of several universities where I have had the opportunity to work, and I find it interesting that you take a look at it. Let's look, for example, at the costs. This is a normal master's program that lasts 2 years, 4 semesters, and costs approximately £22,700. These pounds. That means, let's say, converted to the local currency, a very important cost. But the people who have done it have told me, for example, that it is one of the top programs, let's say, worldwide for training in this field. Then the important question will be, let's say, to balance costs and benefits around it. For example, in terms of virtual programs, Stanford University is making very important progress, not only in the Anglo-Saxon world, but it has made important progress in other regions, for example, such as Latin America, where there is already the possibility of doing virtual or online or distance programs. But this one, for example, which is a master's program in the field of engineering, has a cost of $66,000, which are equally divided into or over 2 years, but it marks, let's say, an important point that is a large investment in this case. In the case, for example, of the University of Madrid, here in Montreal, this page shows us, for example, the costs associated only with what is called tuition. It is the tuition, so to speak, of the order of $10,159 Canadian dollars plus associated expenses in insurance and student services that give a total of $12,371 Canadian dollars. Well, it marks an important myth because here in Canada the point is that basically depending on immigration status, one can obtain much lower tuition costs at the level of a Canadian, or much higher costs associated with the international student experience. But it is still important to compare it, for example, with a third university, which in this case is an excellent track record, which is the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile, and taking a look, for example, at the costs of master's degrees associated with construction, one can realize that the annual cost is about $10,000. That is to say, if we are talking about a master's degree that lasts 2 years, we are already assuming a tuition cost of $20,000. Note how, for example, depending on the context, well, this will decrease, but to a point that would be interesting to compare, for example, with the income level of a country. This private university, let's say, of great prestige, gives that, let's say, that panorama. Another very important university in Latin America is the University of Los Andes, and the cost, for example, for a master's program, also in the field of civil engineering, would be in the order of 67 million pesos, which translating or converting rather to what are, let's say, American dollars, we could do the conversion here. And it would result in 17,470 American dollars. For a very prestigious university, and with fairly high-quality programs. At the Pontifical. At Universidad Javeriana, we also have a very high-quality offering that I know very well, and the associated costs are in the order of $15,773,000 per semester, which converted to US dollars would be the following. It would be in the order of 16,353 United States dollars. Friends, there you could compare these 5 programs and draw your own conclusions about the cost advantages of studying in local programs in Latin America of the highest quality. Or having an international experience with different contexts, with the opportunity, for example, to grow in a language other than our own. That is, I leave the concern there for you to do your own analysis. One of the aspects that is most discussed is the incursion of virtual or remote programs, and that a few years ago was the discussed paradigm. Nowadays, perhaps it is not so much the topic of discussion, although it is done, but rather the incursion of artificial intelligence models and the impact they can generate on the way we learn. For example, a few weeks ago, the new OpenAI model, Chat GPT-4o, was launched. And this raises in the examples that were raised at the launch several interesting opportunities for virtual courses, conversations, and everything that relates to learning any topic. So for these construction, engineering, and architecture matters, it will not be the exception. And gradually an impact will be seen in its implementation, simply because it is the current trend. Or because it is a true change. Another of the important points has to do with the methods or methodologies of teaching and learning. For example, case study methods have become customary within graduate classes. And this also includes teaching simulators, because it would be interesting to see how those simulations in a classroom environment, whether in person or virtual, can improve the experience in education and learning. Let's take a look at that topic. Another issue that is strongly discussed in the decision to take a graduate program in the field of engineering, architecture, and construction is the opportunity to study abroad. That is, the globalization of educational programs. Together with virtualization and long-distance programs, they offer important opportunities for student mobilization for international experiences and the exchange of ideas between communities of students around the world. It is good to take a look, for example, at these types of opportunities.